In this video, I'll show you the one niche that almost everyone goes into when they first start Amazon KDP that is actually not that good and what you should do instead. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Sean. I made well over 7 figures from my own Amazon KDP business. So if you want no BS publishing advice from someone who is actually doing it, then make sure to subscribe. Now, before I move forward with the video, I just want to say that nothing I say here is financial advice. I'm not guaranteeing any results. Although the results that I got and the results I might show you in my videos are all real, I'm not lying about this, but that doesn't mean that I am guaranteeing you will too. I'm just a random dude on YouTube sharing my own experience. So please make sure to read the full disclaimer in the description. And also, if you want to check out any of my Amazon KDP programs, it is also in the description below. All right, so before I talk about the best Amazon KDP niche for beginners, I want to first talk about the niche literally 90% of beginners goes into as the first niche. What is that niche? Well, the niche is self-help, okay? Like almost everyone who thinks about KDP and think about the topics that they can, write about and create books on, they almost always choose self-help. Now, why is that? Why do everyone choose self-help? Well, I think it's because it's relatable. People often choose topics that they are consuming themselves, and a lot of people read self-help books as a hobby. It's a very relatable thing. It's a very common thing in our lives, so I think people choose that for that reason. I also think people relate their own struggle with mental health and, self-help related topics like that, and they want to write books to help other people. So for that reason, they choose self-help. Another reason is that it's popular. Most best-selling books on Amazon are in or related to self-help, so people see that and also think they have to go into self-help. And it can be very profitable too. So this is an example of a very, very profitable self-help book on the topic of how to stop overthinking. This book is doing hundreds of dollars every single day, right? And if you're wondering how I'm seeing this, I have a tool called BookBeam. It is a paid tool, but it's very useful. If you guys want to check it out, the link is in the description. And this is another book on the power of discipline. So it's a self-discipline book, right? And this book is also doing hundreds of dollars a day, over $10,000 in a month. So yes, it's profitable, but there's a pretty big problem with self-help when it comes to beginners. And that is that most beginners choose a super broad, vague keyword like overthinking or self-discipline or motivation as the first book to go into, right? And as I showed you earlier, these keywords are very, very profitable, but it's also extremely competitive and extremely broad. Like just self-discipline or just overthinking, that's really, really broad. And if you are a beginner with low budget, can you realistically compete with the top books? Because again, the topic of self-discipline, overthinking, confidence, those kind of things is literally the most competitive, the most saturated, right? Oftentimes, the top books in that keyword are, filled with authority figures with huge marketing budget or top self-publishers with huge marketing budget, right? So if you're a beginner with low budget, for you to go into that keyword, you have to compete with that, which means it requires you to spend a lot more in advertising, get a lot more reviews as well, more than other keywords. And so for that reason, it's a little bit harder. So this is not an exact science, but there's actually a way to calculate how much you need in advertising budget to compete with a book on a keyword. Okay, so again, don't quote me exactly on this because, it all depends on many, many factors, but it's just a very, very rough, simple calculation. And that is to understand that typically people spend about 30 to 50% of their royalties in Amazon ads. So essentially what I'm saying is, this is $250 to $364 per day, right? So let's just say it's doing $300 a day in royalties, which means 30 to 50% of this is being, used up in Amazon ads. So that means this person, this author, is spending around $100, $150 per day in ads. So if you are going into Stop Overthinking and you want to compete with this book, do you realistically have $100 a day in advertising budget to compete, right? So that's what I'm saying here. Same as this book. If you're trying to compete with this book, first of all, you're competing with 10,000 reviews. So, normally I say you can start making sales with 20 reviews, 50 reviews, right? And you can start making sales. But if you're next to a book that has 10,000 reviews, realistically, you need more reviews than just 20 or 50, right? So if you're going to go into a keyword like this, you're going to need more reviews and also advertising budget as well, right? So if you're going to compete with this book, 30 to 50% of this number right here could be $200 to $300, right? So do you have $200 to $300 per day in advertising budget? Again, don't quote me on this, thing and say, oh, I don't have this, so there's no way I can go and compete in self-discipline. Like, there's many ways to stand out. So just because you don't have 300 bucks a day in ad spend, it's not like you're doomed to go into self-discipline and you cannot compete, right? But again, I just wanted to show you how to look at it from this point of view. Because another example here is if I look up how to stop overthinking, okay? If I go to the search results, again, this book is making a lot of money, right? This is a top book. And if you scroll down here, there are some books on the same topic that are, trying to make sales here, like they're running ads, right? But this book right here, clearly a worse version of this one. It's on the exact same topic, clear your brain, right? How to alleviate from overthinking. So it's stop overthinking. But it's a much worse version of this book, because of the book cover design and stuff like that, with 0 reviews. And she is running ads to page 1, trying to compete with all the other books. And that's exactly why it typically leads to losing money, because, you can't compete with that. And that's happening to a lot of people here, right? So for this reason, the fact that people can't get enough reviews and also don't have enough advertising budget to start competing with top books, on page 1, self-help can be tough. But keep in mind, because I'm sure at this point of the video, people are like, oh, I'm never gonna do anything to do with self-help, right? But that's not what I'm saying. Self-help itself is not a problem. The real problem is that most people go into self-help with the most vague topics, right? So again, the most vague topic is like how to be more confident, how to stop overthinking, right? Like the broadest of the broad, how to be more motivated, right? Like those kind of self-help topics is what I'm talking about. So a small tweak in your approach and you can start competing and you can start making money even in self-help. So how do you do that? Approach number 1 is add a USP, so unique selling proposition, right? So you always need something that makes your book unique. You need to have your book either better or unique than all the competition, especially if you're going into the same broad keyword like within the self-help category, right? You need a unique selling point. So doing the same thing as everyone else with less reviews and marketing will not work. Again, you cannot go into a very broad topic like stop overthinking, right? Competing with this book with 13,000 reviews and just simply make a crappier version with the exact same angle, so like there's nothing special about the topic. It's the same stop overthinking and you have way less reviews, way worse cover, way worse description and everything. And you expect to somehow compete with this book. Like that doesn't make sense. But the good news is, you can still go into how to stop overthinking or whatever self-help or whatever competitive keyword, but make something unique about your book so that it stands out. Let me give you some examples. Like this book right here, right? Stop letting everything affect you. Okay, so this is a book on overthinking, how to stop overthinking, but the book cover looks different. It's not just another, brain or, silhouette of the human. Like literally everyone who goes into self-help, right? Everyone's doing the same thing. It's always about the face, brain, or just like this, mindfulness or simple, like literally just 3 variation. So this person made a difference. Okay, so it's standing out for the design, book cover, and also the title, Stop Letting Everything Affect You, right? So it's like, that's the unique selling proposition, is that they have a catchy, unique title. So just simply having a different book cover, different book title is one way for you to stand out, despite having way less reviews, right? So this book is still doing really, really well. And you can argue that, oh, he's an authority figure, this and that. Doesn't matter. Whether you're an authority figure or not, you still gotta do the same thing. Like the approach we take is exactly the same. So another example in another keyword is this one, how to talk to anyone. Okay, so in how to talk to anyone, literally everyone's just ripping off this like text-based design, right? Like everyone's just copying each other here. It's just crazy. Okay, everyone's just coming in with the same exact book cover design. And everyone's also using the same how to talk to anyone as a title. And this author right here came in with a completely different angle here. So it's still the topic of how to talk to everyone, right? It's the communication skills angle, but he says how to ruin a great conversation. Okay, so it's like, that's the unique selling point. It's just different. So the big thing to remember is that the topic, you want to follow proof of concept, right? Like, go into a topic that has demand. I always talk about that. But the way you position the book, the angle should be unique, to make your book stand out. You don't want to just copy the same thing over and over and over. One more example here. So this book, right? The Power of Discipline, just a normal self-discipline book. And in self-discipline, they always talk about how to be more disciplined, how to be more, build good habits and stuff like that, right? Well, this book took a completely different angle. easy self-discipline, how to resist temptations, build good habits, and achieve your goals without willpower or mental toughness. Because again, every single self-discipline book talk about how to increase mental toughness, how to be more mentally tough, right? But this book is saying how to do self-discipline or how to be more self-disciplined without mental toughness. So that's like their unique angle. So that was approach number one in terms of how you can stand out in a competitive keyword, right? Is to have something unique about it. I'll be honest though, that's not as easy coming up with unique selling points and stuff like that, right? Especially for beginners, it might be a little hard. So what is an easier way? Well, approach number two is straight up just simply niching down. So this is much easier for beginners. You serve a more specific demographic and it'll allow you to have less competition, less review, and marketing requirement as well. And there are many ways to niche down, okay? You can niche down by demographic. So instead of just saying how to stop overthinking for literally everyone in the entire world, this author niched down to how to stop overthinking after age 60. So it's specifically targeting people over the age of 60. So you can niche down by demographic. That's one way of doing it. And it's working. This book is doing $45 a day. I think that's pretty good, right? With just 45 reviews. So now you need a lot less reviews because you niche down. You can also niche down by topic. So this book right here is how to stop overthinking in relationships. So you niche down, not just in, how to stop overthinking for everything, but specifically in relationship, right? And this audiobook's doing hundreds of dollars a day. So that is pretty damn good. Another example here. So instead of doing a self-discipline book for everyone, this is a self-discipline book specifically talking about US Navy SEAL self-discipline strategies, like what you learn in the military. Okay. And this book, literally just 70 pages, super short, 70 pages, $128 a day. So that's another angle, right? Niching down by the topic. This is a self-discipline book example, niching down by demographic. So the first one was only for people over 60. But this one is mental toughness for young athletes. So specifically for just young athletes, right? And this book is doing extremely, extremely well. And this is a combination of niching down by the topic and also demographic. Demographic is young athletes, right? Focusing just on that demographic, but also niche down on the topic because it's sports devotion. So it's not just like a, 1 minute devotion, it's 1 minute sports devotion. So niche down on the topic. Okay. So very, very niche stuff. And surprisingly, this book is doing extremely well, $400 to $500 or $600 a day, right? And just 143 reviews, which is not too bad. Last example here, mental toughness for young volleyball players, right? So niching down by the age, okay, young players or young people, and then volleyball topic. And crazy thing is, even with that much niching down happening, it's still selling like $30 a day, $900 a month just from the paperback, including Kindle hardcover audio. It's doing over 1,000, right? So I think that's pretty good, and that is a great example of niching down. As long as you add a unique selling point, niche down, or do both, there's nothing wrong with going into self-help, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong. The problem is most beginners don't do this and they just go into like the broadest self-help topic. Again, they go into topics like motivation, confidence, happiness, those kind of things. And that makes things super hard. And on top of that, on top of going into the broadest topic, they just copy the top book and they don't add anything unique to their book and they just rip off, what's working and they just like copy the cover, copy the title, with less reviews and less marketing budget. So like, what are you doing? You're just making it super hard for yourself. Just don't do that and you're good to go with self-help. But to summarize everything, right? The best KDP niche, if you're wondering, is any niche where you're hyper-focused on one specific demographic and a specific problem, right? So I gave you many examples in this video on how you can niche down and focus on just one demographic and one specific problem. If you can do that, you can apply this concept in any category, any niche, right? Not just in self-help. So, you're like, oh, this is clickbait because there's no, one KDP niche that is the best. Well, of course, because there's no one best niche, right? Like every niche work if you can make it work, okay? So as long as you don't make this mistake, because this mistake applies to literally every niche out there. As long as you don't do it, you'll be fine, okay? So don't be vague, be specific. And I actually have way more examples, so let me go over that, okay? So don't just do weight loss. If you're going into the diet niche, right? Don't just do weight loss for everyone. Do chair yoga, which is a specific topic for weight loss, right? And this book is absolutely crushing it, hundreds of dollars a day. Or, don't just do like weight loss with all kinds of diets. You can do a specific diet like cortisol detox diet, right? 46 reviews, 7 to 15. So nothing crazy, couple $100 a month, right? But still, this is a good example of niching down into a specific topic. Don't just do how to make money, right? How to make money. How? Like you want to be specific. As an example, how to make money with ChatGPT, how to make money with AI, right? This book is doing crazy well. Or how to make money specifically in stocks. Don't just do a book on parenting, right? You can do a book on parenting for moms, for dads, for toddlers, right? Or kids who's like between 3 to 5, in terms of age, or teenagers, right? Raising teens. So there are many, many different ways to niche down. As an example, this one. So this is a parenting book for moms, specifically for babies between 6 to 15 months old. Okay, so that's like niching down demographic and age. This is another one, same author, right? For moms, this is for 0 to 6 months, okay? And then this is the last example of parenting book, but also kind of combining it with like anger management. So how to stop losing your shit with your kids. So essentially it's a parenting book, but it has a unique angle of focusing on anger management. So many different examples. But hopefully you get the point, because this is very, very important. It's extremely important, because if you go into a super broad keyword and just create a book that has nothing special and just a worse version of a best-selling book on the market, it's going to be very hard for you to go and market the book and start actually making money from it. But if you do this step correctly, pick a good topic that's niche down, that's specific, and create a book that stands out, it makes the marketing process so much easier. Like everything else after this, after making the book, it's just so much smoother, so much easier than if you mess up this first step. So this first step is just so important. And if you need help with that step, right? Because a lot of people think they have a good book when they do not. Okay, a lot of people come to us saying, hey, I got a good book, why is it not selling? And I take a look at it and it's unfortunately making the same mistakes that I talk about in this video. So that's exactly why it's important to have a coach who has experience in Amazon KDP, right? Actually take a look at your keyword, your book cover, your book title, and tell you exactly what to fix before you go and actually publish it, right? To prevent this mistake from happening. That's exactly why we offer a coaching program. And we offer a coaching program that comes with one-on-one coaching calls so that we can guide you properly. That's why I call my programs coaching programs and not a course, because a course is just a video lesson compiled and you have to figure it out yourself, right? But ours is a coaching program because it's like significantly focused on the one-on-one coaching aspect that you get. So if you guys want to check it out, it's the first link in the description below. You can book a free strategy call and it's like 30 minutes. It's free. You talk to one of our coaches and you can see if this program is a good fit for you. If not, no problem. It costs money. It's not the cheapest thing, right? So obviously, like, if you're low on budget, no pressure. That's why I make these free videos to help you. But if you want to shortcut the process, obviously the coaching program is probably the fastest way. So that is an option as well. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. All the links and resources that I recommend in your publishing business is in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.